All right, let's talk about AI. But not the hype. Let's talk about what happens when the biggest companies in the world throw billions at it and fail spectacularly. We're going to unpack their incredibly expensive mistakes to create a playbook for your architecture firm so you can skip the pain and get it right from day one.
And I'm not exaggerating the scale here. We're talking about a massive bet. Globally, enterprises poured somewhere between $30 and $40 billion into generative AI. They were betting the farm on a revolution. So, what did they get for all that cash?
You ready for this? This is the shocking part. A staggering 95% of those companies got, wait for it, zero. Absolutely nothing in measurable return on that investment. We're talking billions of dollars that just, poof, vanished. Gone with nothing to show for it.
So you have to ask, what went wrong? Was the tech a bust? No, not at all. And this is the critical part. This isn't a technology failure. The AI works. This was, pure and simple, an execution failure. A total breakdown in how they rolled it out.
And this massive failure created something experts are now calling the Gen AI divide. Think about it. On one side, you've got this tiny sliver, just 5% of companies, who are absolutely crushing it, unlocking millions in real value. And then there's everyone else, the other 95%, stuck in what's being called pilot purgatory. Endless experiments, cool demos, but zero real-world results.
So the big question is, why? Why does this happen? Well, it's not just bad luck. It turns out the failures almost always point back to three specific, predictable project killers. These are the traps that stop AI initiatives dead in their tracks. Let's dig into what they are.
Okay, here they are, the three big ones. The verification tax, the learning gap, and the reality gap. If you can understand these three things, you are well on your way to avoiding that 95% trap.
First up is something called the verification tax. You know exactly what this is. It's when an AI is confidently wrong. It gives you an output that looks absolutely perfect, but it's full of subtle errors. And what happens? Your team ends up spending more time checking, double-checking, and fixing the AI's work than it would have taken to just do it themselves from scratch. It's a productivity killer.
All right, number two is the learning gap. Think about off-the-shelf tools like ChatGPT. They're amazing, right? But here's the catch. They don't learn from you. They don't remember the feedback you gave them last time or your firm's specific standards. Every single time you use it, it's starting from zero. That makes it a static tool, not a strategic asset that actually gets smarter and more valuable to your business over time.
And the third killer is the reality gap. This one's huge. This is where all the incredible hype about AI just smacks right into a brick wall. And that brick wall is the messy truth of your business. Your data isn't perfectly clean, your workflows aren't perfectly structured. The real world of an architecture project. The ambition is sky high, but the actual groundwork just isn't there.
Okay, so that's the doom and gloom. Those are the traps. But what about the winners? How is that tiny 5% getting it so right when everyone else is getting it so wrong? Well, it has nothing to do with having some secret magic AI tool. It's because they are playing a completely different game, using a completely different playbook.
And honestly, the difference boils down to one fundamental mindset shift. It's so simple, it's almost infuriating. The 95% who fail, they take a technology-first approach. They get a shiny new AI tool and then run around trying to find a problem for it to solve. The successful 5%, they do the exact opposite. They are problem first. They identify a specific, painful, high-value business problem first, and then they go find the right tech to fix it. And you can see the results of that mindset shift right here. Look at the motivation. The 95% are chasing this fuzzy idea of a competitive edge. But the 5%? They're laser-focused on tangible business outcomes. And that one difference in mindset leads to a world of difference in ROI. We're talking zero versus millions in measurable returns. It's that stark. Maybe the best way to think about this is a great metaphor I've heard. The winning firms, they treat AI like a brand new junior employee. Super smart, tons of potential, right? But you wouldn't just throw them in the deep end. They need training, they need clear oversight, and they absolutely need a feedback loop so they can learn from their mistakes. It's not a magic wand. It's a new team member that needs to be managed.
So, what does that look like in the real world? Well, for starters, they build what are called accuracy flywheels. That's where every single correction a human makes actually trains the system and makes it smarter for the next time. They also say no thanks to one-size-fits-all tools and instead demand customization for their specific workflows. And this one is so important. They establish clear rules for their data, data governance, from day one, not 6 months later when everything's a mess.
Okay, so this shift in strategy brings us to the most important question of all. What about us? What about the people, the architects, the designers, the project managers? Because this isn't just about new software. It's about a massive shift in the skills that are going to be valuable.
And look, the data here might actually surprise you. The headlines are all about AI taking jobs. And yeah, forecasts show it might displace around 85 million jobs. But what they don't always mention is that it's expected to create 97 million new ones. That's a net gain of 12 million jobs. So the story isn't about elimination, it's about transformation. It's about automating the grunt work to free us up for the high-value, strategic thinking.
And believe me, this isn't some far-off future thing. This transformation is happening right now. At companies like Google and Microsoft, executives are being crystal clear. Knowing how to use AI is no longer optional. It's not a nice-to-have on your resume. It is becoming a core part of your job, a mandatory performance metric at every single level.
So we have to stop thinking about this as architects versus AI. That's the wrong fight. It's a total misreading of the situation. The real future, the real competition, is AI-fluent architects versus, well, everyone else.
Which brings us to the big takeaway. How do you make sure your firm ends up on the right side of that divide? Let's pull all this together into a simple strategic blueprint, a plan to help you avoid joining that 95%.
Okay, here's your 4-step blueprint. It's simple. 1. Stop playing around with pilots and start strategizing. Find a real, high-value business problem first. 2. Audit your data, not your tools. Is your house in order? Is your data clean and accessible? 3. Invest in your people, not just in platforms. Make AI literacy a core skill that you actually measure. And 4. Build to learn, not just to run. Prioritize systems that actually get better every time you use them.
Because at the end of the day, the architecture firms that are going to win in this new era, they're not going to be the ones with the fanciest, most expensive tools. They're going to be the ones with structured workflows, with solid validation protocols, and with a culture of continuous learning. That's the real competitive advantage.
So I'll leave you with this one final question to think about for your own firm. Are you building a strategy to solve a real problem, or are you just buying a tool because of the hype? Your answer to that question will decide which side of that Gen I divide you end up on.